Hey everyone, welcome back to The Ox and the Rat. I'm your host, The Ox.
And I'm the rat.
Yes, and it is snowing fully, 100%, like it's the middle of winter here in lovely southern Ontario. It's been the worst start to a summer that I can remember. Like it just won't. We had 2 weekends, like a month ago, where it was super sunny, like nearly 20 degrees, and now it's just been low 10s or like under 10 degrees, and now it's fully freezing and snowing. What's it like there?
Wow. I would guess about 20 degrees in the daytime. Oh, it's 22. No, it's 19 at 7:30 p.m.
Oh, man, I would miss some predictability like that.
Yeah, we got 20s and cloud and rain, so.
Right. But you don't have central air conditioning.
No, I've got one of those things that's on the wall and then a unit outside the building.
A unit outside of the building?
You know, like those big fans.
Oh, you mean you have a space air conditioner?
Yeah.
And the intake is outside. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they those. You ever see those guys go out there and install one of those things?
Yeah, terrifying. Like my nightmare. That's not even like in one of those super tall buildings. There's not that many big high-rise apartment buildings out in that part of the world compared to here. I imagine people going out in like the 40th floor to do that. They would, though. I know that they would. That's why it's crazy to think of. Well,
not a whole lot of safety equipment either.
Yeah. Well, at least yours doesn't sound like a jet airliner. Like our place is so poorly built. Like we've had flood already, and it's a new building, right? And they built them like shit. You can hear everything in every room anyone does, no matter what floor you're on. You can, and like you turn on the air conditioner, and it's just blasting like you're next to a jet engine. And it's funny. Somebody in the townhouse community forum had just bought a unit. I was like, "Oh, you fool!" It's like anybody else having problems with their air conditioner. Ours sounds like a jet engine every time it turns on. Like, yeah, sucker, that's right. I'm just renting. Yeah.
Yeah, got to go walk around and ask the neighbors. I think, especially on a townhome. I don't trust those usually.
Yeah, really good point. I'm glad this is like the first time I'm, moving into a place here. They're built to not to last. So that's really one of the problems. And I guess in other parts of the world they're not built to last, but at least they're built like solidly. I doubt they'd survive an earthquake, but like this thing is just like paper walls, everything. I saw the inside actually. The people had to come in and fix something, and like they showed us like where the leak was, and I looked in there, and it's just like there are no studs at all, and it's just like a foot of air between all of the walls. So no wonder you can hear everything. Crazy, man. No concrete at all.
Zero insulation or sound dampening or anything?
Yep, that's right. Yeah. And the people underneath complain all the time. They're like, oh, like, you guys are banging around. Or like, okay, well, it's 5:30. I just woke up. All I've done is walk. And I can't do anything about my dog. Like, it's not like she's jumping around. Just, you call it stamping, I call it walking. Just a shit. And he's like, the place is really poorly built. Like, so move, get out of here. Why did you take the lower unit? I'm so glad I'm on the upper of the stack. And there's one below too, which is crazy to think. Yeah.
And they don't have to, like, if you try to have a legal suite in your basement or whatever, you're supposed to put in soundproofing.
Sure as fuck should.
Seems like these guys didn't.
Well, I think that's if you're turning your house into a duplex, whereas this is sold as, or was designed as three separate units with three separate.
Still should have it.
Oh yeah, I think it should. Anyways, yeah, you gotta build cheap, and then you still gotta pay, like, I think these places go for 650,000 or something. Fucking crazy. No way, man. Would never. Is it locked? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, are you in the city or in the suburbs?
Hard to distinguish in the GTA. We're in York, so it's like it's a suburb technically, not really a suburb. Same time, I don't know. Yeah, let's just call it a suburb.
A built-up suburb.
Yeah. And the black hole of Ontario sucks everything in. Toronto. You can't leave, but you can't stay really either. What's lockdown like for you? But you don't have lockdown, right?
Yeah, lockdown's non-existent.
God, we're getting so tired of it. Like, we're on full lockdown again. Full. Like, to the extent that they were like threatening police action, and people thankfully, people who do listen to this know my feelings. Like, good, like, fight back. This is bullshit, man. I can't believe that it's like 1984 shit. We're gonna all have vaccine wristbands, like, and like be monitored and the frickin' for no reason at all. This is just mass hysteria. This isn't the Spanish flu. Crazy, man.
But they'll make it cool, so you could go to Coachella or something with it.
Oh, Coachella. I would do for just honestly being able to go anywhere or like go to my place of business, anything with human beings and like with people who aren't afraid of each other. Just infects everything. Just makes everything worse. Great way to start. But on that note, why don't we get started then?
All right.
So this one's called The Boys and the Frogs. Some boys were playing one day at the edge of a pond in which lived a family of frogs. The boys amused themselves by throwing stones into the pond so as to make them skip on top of the water. We've all done that, right? What's your maximum number of skips? Got like maybe 6, 7.
I've had some of those, those really like close in between ones. I probably got into like 10 or so.
I can't even remember.
Those short hops.
I guess that would require me being allowed to be outside near water, which we're not allowed to do. Anyway, so they're skipping these rocks on top of the water. The stones were flying thick and fast, and the boys were enjoying themselves very much, but the poor frogs in the pond were trembling with fear. At last, one of the frogs, the oldest and bravest, put his head out of the water and said, "Oh, please, dear children, stop your cruel play. Though it may be fun to you, it means death to us." Oh. Yeah.
Let's see here. I would say fun for some, yet danger for others. There's the synopsis of the story.
Yeah. It is kind of like a story. It's like, is this a moral, or it's just like frogs die when you hit them with rocks?
Yeah, I think maybe, as this is something my dad always says, actions have consequences.
Yeah, true. This one is always stop to think whether your fun may not be the cause of another's unhappiness. Yeah. But
Yeah, that seems pretty literal.
yeah, very. Sometimes they're not, though. Sometimes these Aesop's fables are not always as literal as they could be. So here we have the flip side. And yeah, what a great segue back into the topic of ye old coronavirus. I mean, that's the whole thing, right? Like we're all in this together, and you can't, you having fun or going to a party or something, it will result in somebody else being unhappy or getting sick.
True. I know my mom was saying that, I don't know if they ever did do this, but they were basically going to shift the vaccines to the younger people because they were the ones that were kind of spreading it more because they're out and about. So then it takes away from the older people, and then just because they're playing around, it got shifted basically. But I don't know if that did happen or not.
Yeah, no, I don't believe so. It's shifting down. It's like at age 40 now. 40 and up can get it. My parents both got it, which is hooray, but doesn't seem to make a difference. We've lost our collective fucking minds over this thing. Like we're getting the vaccine, but we're in a lockdown. What? We were in less of a lockdown before we were getting the vaccine. Genius. I don't know. I don't believe it I understand the moral. Like, if there are situations where it's like you're having fun at the expense of somebody else. Like, for example, when I was a kid and a younger guy, let's say teenager, young 20s, we have parties and stuff in a residential neighborhood, and like that definitely affects other people. So I get that. That I get. The thing about the coronavirus, obviously, my take on it's well known. I don't think that like doing human things, like being out and about or like having fun with friends, is somehow at the expense of other people's unhappiness. I think that other people's unhappiness is at the expense of our happiness. That's the way it seems to be if I flip it around. But there are definitely times when that happens. I don't know, when I was a teacher, I'm trying to think, like, sometimes, like, we were doing things in the classroom that were loud, and, the classroom next door had to, like, ask us to stop. That definitely happened a few times. So I gotcha. That makes sense. But I don't believe it literally applied to this whole coronavirus situation. And obviously there are social situations, like I said, where that's true, right? Like, you're having a party and other people are trying to sleep, they got kids.
Yeah, that happened the reverse a lot to me when I had a roommate. They would always come home late from a restaurant or the bar or something like that, and they'd just turn on music.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd have to wake up early to go to work or something like that. It was terrible. So I get the other side as well, but yeah, nobody really cared when you're having a house party about anybody else. Just like, whatever, just turn the music up. Luckily, that building was pretty much all young people, so no complaints ever.
You mean like a residence place?
It's like a small apartment building with like 4 or maybe like 6 units.
Low rise?
Low rise, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, when I was in university, I experienced that a lot, for sure. That we had like a non-co-ed, because I went to King's College for some reason. I just because they let me in, because I got in there, and it wasn't co-ed. Then they had all these ridiculous, because it's a Christian place. They had all of these ridiculous rules about like girls being anywhere near the boys' dorms and vice versa, and like curfews and crap. I got in a lot of trouble. being loud and partying and stuff like that. But yeah, and I think it was worse. Like you said, I lived with four other guys my first year after that, and there's a lot of friction from that. You always had to like coordinate. Like, we're gonna have a party, so deal with it. Like, be a part of it or get the hell out, kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's always a give and take, right? I think that's part of the problem too. How we've lost our minds. Like, there isn't a situation where there's no cost to anything, right? It's where there's no risk, no cost. So I don't know. It's always a negotiation living in society.
Yeah, somebody else is going to have a party at some point and annoy you, so
Yeah,
you kind of got to take it. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that are, quote unquote, following the rules. They'll bend them to go visit family or who knows what.
yeah. My parents were like, "Do you need to get anything from the house before in the next month?" I was like, "Okay, we're not doing this. Like, if we need to see each other, it's fine. Like, they're not going to find us. They're not going to, like, oh, crazy, man."
Especially if they have the shots.
I know. It's just amazing. But we're well beyond that, right? We're well beyond thinking logically about this. Yeah.
Yeah. In some ways, well, depending on how sick of it you are, but I mean, for them, maybe they're like, all right, cool, we'll just kind of relax. I didn't mind it. Like when this thing was all kind of, because it's pretty much over here. When this thing was all kind of over, I was like, I kind of miss quarantine.
Yeah.
That initial feeling, like nobody was on the streets. I could just go to the grocery store, come back. I didn't have to go to work. I didn't mind it.
I just dislike how it's continuing and like it's infecting the way people, including myself, feel. And it is, I guess this isn't about anyone else's fun affecting other people's unhappiness. It's kind of the reverse. Like I said, but like, this is the cost of being in this situation constantly. Is you can't underestimate the mental effects of it unless you've been through it this long. Like, say nothing of the physical consequences, which are very, very real. I think what was it, like, Americans, like you said, average like 20 pounds gained. 20 pounds is so much weight. Like, I have a 10-pound mace bell here, and it's really freaking heavy. Like, that's so.
Yeah. I could really put that on in like a couple weeks, though.
I cannot gain weight. Like, I just can't. I'm so busy, and like I've hacked everything so well that, like, cold showers. I wish I had a sauna. That's next. But like, exercise and being active and what I eat, especially, it's all about your diet in the end. Figure out. Like, I just don't gain weight. I don't gain it. It just, I stay at the same. I'll put on like 2 pounds and I just fall right back down to the same like set point every time. It's really remarkable. Anyways, that's totally off the beaten path. But yeah, I don't think I haven't gained any weight at all during this.
Oh, I have. Yeah, so that's fun. Eating is fun.
Has your fun been at the expense of your of your partner's unhappiness?
Yeah, she tells me to exercise more and more these days.
That's the worst way to get somebody to exercise.
Yeah, I know you've tried that yourself as well.
Oh yeah, it does work.
Yeah. Well, I had that back injury, which I mentioned. It's just finally, like, I went and played volleyball last week, and my back was killing me for the next 3 days, and then now it's feeling better. So I'm hoping it was one of those things where, you kind of activate some muscles, and then it hurts, but it comes back stronger.
Yeah, one thing I've learned for sure is that like I only get back pain when I don't exercise and when I don't lift heavy. Um, Combined with some stretching, it's so ironic. It seems so ironic, but it's not true. It's a lot of things seem ironic, don't they? Like you're not. If you
Hmm.
eat fat, you'll get fat. It's definitely not true. That's the opposite of what actually happens. But yeah. So let's think times where your fun has been at the cause of someone another's unhappiness. So we talked about school, or yeah, being at university. Talked about I talked about work. What about you at work? Has there been times where your fun has been at the cost of another's unhappiness?
I used to play music all the time
Did you play?
at
Did you
work.
play it like loud though?
It wasn't in like it wasn't. I don't know because I was never really outside. I don't know if it went into other classrooms, but nobody ever uh, complained about that or anything.
Oh, you mean music?
Um,
You mean music in the room, not like.
yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah. I used to do that as a teacher all the time. That's a good point. It's usually like pretty low key stuff
yeah. Nobody ever complained, and sometimes you don't mind it. I think, um, depending on the music, if it's okay. But at work, I was just trying to think about times. I didn't do this too often because I always wanted to make money, but kind of calling in sick when you didn't need
though.
to, um, and that's at the expense maybe of someone else. But I mean, somebody else picks up the shift. I guess sometimes. Well, the one time that I tried to do that, I think I was 19 or something like that, and my boss, as a dishwasher, my boss gave me New Year's Eve off, and of course, at 19, you go, and I was drinking. I don't know what time I got home. Maybe not too late, maybe like 2 or something like that. And I had to go to work. I started work at 9, and I phoned at like 8, and I was just like, my hands were shaking. I was just like, felt like garbage. And I phoned, I'm like, I can't make it. And the boss is like, yeah, you're going to make it. I gave you the time off. You're coming down. And he was kind of like angry at me, and I'm like, ah, damn it. So I had to actually go in. I think that was one of the one times that I tried to get out of it, but I still never did.
And I didn't let you. Smart guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I never miss work, generally speaking.
felt horrible.
Well, we've all been
Everybody
there.
like
Work hangovers. Oh my god. I can.
even worse when you're a dishwasher and they're throwing like empty wine glasses and
Yeah.
like champagne or stuff in front of you.
Oh man, I remember those days very well. Oh my god. Working at the keg, where I used to work for years. One of them, obviously, there's a million of them. Working as a dishwasher for a year. I don't know how I made it through that. I hated that job. I hated it so much. I was such a bad worker too. But I didn't miss work very often. I never have, and even into my professional career, I don't really, because I find like I get unhappy, or it makes me unhappy or worried when I miss work. Like I'm like, what's happening? Like the world will fall apart if I'm not there. Yeah, that's the viewpoint I tend to take on things. So it prevents me from taking advantage of stuff like that.
Also, sometimes you end up having to do more work like if you miss it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like I don't know if that was ever true in the end. Probably not true. But yeah, it's a problem. I think a lot of people have the same approach, and other people, it's like two worlds. Like some people are like, yeah, whatever, I'm taking a day off, and fuck it. And then other people are like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't miss work. Like something will happen. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if I've missed a day, like outside of, forcing you to go get your visa done or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, exactly.
But I don't know if I've missed a day in like years.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll actually thinking about that. There were, I don't know if you were there then, probably those people were doing, we, at a time when we were in the same area, I don't know if you knew these people, there were a few few people whom we knew, I think we knew them, that I certainly did not like very much. Uh, and I ended up, they were like regularly missing work all the time. And it was always like a Monday. It was always a Monday.
Hmm.
And I'd complain, like, I always have to cover for this person all the time. Because even I had an extra, I had I had 2 of 5 blocks open, even though I do like all this extra work during the one, at least one of those time slots. I was always working. And this person would always not come to, she'd not come to work. She'd every Monday or Friday to get a long weekend. And I was like, is anybody else noticing this pattern? Like, there's no way that she's randomly, or this other person, that they're randomly sick on Fridays and Mondays. And then, like, I remember we had a certain number of days that you could take, and I remember being like, that person is way the hell over her numbers, right? And I'd complain about it too. It was like, I hope this person is getting fined because I don't miss any time, and I end up covering for this person. That was definitely that person. I assume that she and he or them were enjoying some time off at my expense. So there's one. When it's a pattern, it's really pisses me off.
And the fact that it's like more of a professional job.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
maybe if you're at a restaurant or something, like who I can see how people wouldn't care, but
I get pissed about that too, but because it's shift work, it's like you're just making more money. In that context, it's like there's no benefit to me. Like, and man, when you're a teacher, there's nothing worse than covering a class. Even if you don't have to do anything, being a cover teacher or a supply teacher, in my experience, the worst job ever. And that was one of the reasons I never really pursued a career in the public school system when I came back. I was like, no way, no fucking way in hell I'm going through the whole supply teacher gauntlet here, because you can't get a full-time job in the public system where all the money is. So I was like, yeah, nope, don't think so. You have no authority, you're doing babysitting. I don't know. You know how it is. Or maybe not. For me, just covering people's work is just awful.
Yeah. Unknown. A lot of unknowns going into a situation like that.
Oh man. I remember that in England was the worst. It was way worse. Because the kids were so much rougher to begin with. They hated school. And like you being in there was a time to just get away with everything. Oh, I still have nightmares about it. And half of my schedule was covered when I worked at both a primary and secondary level. Just nightmarish, truly nightmarish. Like they would do anything to screw with your day and make your life terrible. Oh, yeah.
Did you ever do that to a teacher?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. There's this awful teacher. I was the worst student. Was she an awful teacher? Yeah, she kind of was. She would cover all the time. She was really like overweight and stuff, and kind of feel bad looking back at it. But we would do some terrible things to her. Like we put it's gonna sound terrible. Put like a string. It was at like height level or waist level, to be fair. But we put like a string across 2 desks, and because she would walk up and down the rows of desks, and she like almost tripped on it. It was just like a cotton string, and she was like, "Oh my
Mm-hmm.
god, you tried to kill me!" Yeah, we ruined her life. I did that to regular teachers too. Yeah, I was not a good student. That's
It's a
why
bit of
all teachers, or I think there's 2 types of teachers: the ones who were like me and were like and were awful students or had a terrible time, and who were like, "Oh, I'm gonna fix the system," and then there are ones who are like, "Education is wonderful; it's the gateway to life and whatever," and they were always great at school. That's two poles probably.
mm. I don't have too many of those. I had one where I had my MP3 player and I hooked it up. There's a substitute for IT class, and they have the speakers, computer speakers and stuff. So I hooked up the audio jack to my MP3 player and then just kind of like hid it under the desk. And I was playing, I don't know, is it Pink Floyd? We Don't Need No Education.
Nice.
Like, where's that coming from?
Nice. We don't.
I didn't let it go on too long.
We don't need no education. Probably true for a lot of situations. Yeah. So definitely been a lot of times where my fun has come at the expense of others, and vice versa as well.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're acting out at school, this usually has nothing to do with the person. It's the situation. Because my God, school is boring. Sometimes. Just sit down in your seat. Ugh. So unnatural.
Do work.
Do your worksheet. I was starting to think about the other day. We close this out. Well, what is the death of education? It's paper. I think it's paper. I've always hated the word worksheet. It combines 2 of the worst things ever. A sheet and work. Like, but like, oh, we'll just have them do a worksheet. Like, oh, fuck. Let's have them do the thing that sounds awful. Like, that's that's the answer to so many things. And then like, being a tutor and the kids like take out the worksheet, and I was like, I can totally understand why you don't find value in this. You're writing in pencil marks on a paper numbers that mean absolutely nothing to you. Ugh, gross. Hate worksheets. That's teachers' happiness, right? The lack of planning,
Yeah,
which I do empathize with, at the unhappiness of students. There you go.
unless it was a crossword or a word search. I got a lot of those in biology, high school biology.
Pointless.
I just killed those.
Pointless. But I guess they put your minds on activities.
I mean, a word search is just nothing.
Minds on or minds off, right?
Yeah.
That's the question. Anyways, we say we wrap this up on that closing the loop there, worksheets.
All right. Would you agree with this? Throwing stones at frogs makes them unhappy.
Makes them explode. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely true. You should. The question is, you should stop to think whether your fun may not be the cause for another's unhappiness. Yeah, you should. I'm going to give this thumb sideways. Like in the Roman gladiator, it was like, oh, maybe I don't know. I'm not sure. So I think that's clearly true. You should do it, but it can't always. There is always a trade-off. So it's not like you're going to have a situation where you're only ever going to have fun because some like loser is going to come around and say, you're in a circle of too many people, you're spreading the virus. I was like, well, if you're unhappy about that, then just go be unhappy by yourself, you awful human being. That's my take on it. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of it.
It's true. And, if you have a loud party, if you just had that quiet kind of party, I mean, somebody else is going to have a loud one later. So,
Yeah. Let he who is without
have some
sin,
fun.
let he who is without sin cast the first stone, right? We all do it.
Mm-hmm.
We've all been there on one side or the other, give and take, as long as it's not too much give or too much take, right?
Yeah. And I think also important to think about it afterwards, kind of like what we did. Reflect. Yeah, I guess I did do that. And then maybe you can make some changes after that.
Yeah, thumbs sideways. So everybody out there, try and have some fun and don't worry too much. Like, especially if it's this virus junk, you'll be fine. Life will go on tomorrow. The sun will still rise. Anyways, yeah, that's my take.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, till next time. Adios.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen. Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye.